After helping hundreds of expats to buy properties in Prague, I realized most people ask similar questions, specifically which is the best area to live in Prague. And actually there is not one single answer, it always depends, well, on your budget, on your lifestyle, and in which stage of life you're right now. In this video, we're going to discuss the more central locations which I personally like and which I think are great for living. Prague is big, so this video deserves more parts. So in another part, we will focus also on the less central locations, but in this one, we're going central. If you're ready, let's go. We have to start with Vinohrady. Honestly, it's still my favorite neighborhood in Prague. I lived here for several years, our office is over there, and if I didn't move because my priorities changed, I'll be probably still living here today. This is the Prague most expats imagine before they move here. Beautiful historic buildings, cafes you actually keep coming back to, and parks everywhere, and excellent public transportation. You can walk almost everywhere. Buyers are currently paying, though, about 182,000 per square meter, with a typical 2kk costing between 11 and 12 million Czech crowns. Renting will cost you 30 to 38,000. Well, the downside is that you're paying premium, and of course you struggle with the parking. In my opinion, this is not just about the address, it's about the lifestyle. So if you're looking for the best, in my opinion, Vinohrady is the answer. By the way, a random fact. In the Czech Republic, we have a very high percentage of owned properties compared to rentals. Only 1/5 of people actually live in rentals. This is largely due to the older generation either owning family houses or inheriting properties through restitutions. I lived in a house, or a flat in Vinohrady, and the whole building belonged to an older gentleman in his 80s who got the property from the state in restitutions. So even if you buy a flat for 15 million here, you can still live in Vinohrady next to a nice grandmother who has a retirement income of only 20,000 Czech crowns. Karlín has changed more than almost any neighborhood in Prague. If Vinohrady is classic Prague, Karlín is the modern one. Great restaurants, cafes, offices, gyms, everything is within walking distance. Buyers are paying between or around 178,000 crowns per square meter, with a typical 2kk starting around 10 million. Renting usually costs around 32 to 40,000 Czech crowns monthly. We recently actually sold in this street 18 square meter apartment here for over 5 million Czech crowns. It was tiny, but still it was the cheapest property in Karlín. For me, the downside is that Karlín is almost a little too cool. It is missing, in my opinion, the elegance of Vinohrady. Oh, and the parking is equally bad. On one side, you have a great old buildings. On the other side, you have the modern developments, especially by the river. So make your choice. Žižkov is probably Prague's most misunderstood neighborhood. I always describe it as a Vinohrady's younger brother, a less polished, a little chaotic, and full of character. Parts close to Vinohrady almost feel like Vinohrady, and go further east and it's a completely different atmosphere. Buyers are currently paying around 157,000 per square meter, with a typical 2kk costing between 8 to 9 million Czech crowns. Renting costs between 28 to 37,000 per month. In Žižkov, massive developments are coming up. One of the biggest ones in Prague, like the Nákladové nádraží Žižkov, with more than 10,000 flats coming up in the next decades. This surely means massive increase in Žižkov prices, same as rents. The amount of development cannot be seen, for example, in Vinohrady, which is completely built up already. Oh, by the way, and if you want to buy or sell real estate, you could definitely use some free information from people who've done it hundreds of times. So right for you, I created a PDF guide for buying or selling real estate. The link is in the description. Vršovice reminds me of my little hometown, Ostrava. You can still see some of its industrial roots, but today it's becoming one of Prague's most creative neighborhoods. Places like Vnitroblok or Docks helped put Vršovice on the map, but of course don't forget Alza, of course. Today you will find stylish coffees, galleries and ambitious residential projects. For example, the super fancy development project Letná, where prices don't go typically under 30 million Czech crowns. In Vršovice, buyers are currently paying around 164,000 Czech crowns per square meter, and your typical 2kk will cost between 8 to 10 million crowns. Renting will usually cost you 30 to 37,000 per month. If someone asked me where Prague's most prestigious neighborhood is, I'd probably say Bubeneč, the place full of embassies, cops with machine guns ones guarding them, and quiet streets. Well, right next to them is Dejvice, which feels more lived in, and you can see both families and students from the neighboring universities. And then there is Letná, somewhere in between of Vinohrady, Vršovice and Dejvice. We actually wanted to live in Dejvice ourselves, but renting there was a little bit too expensive, so we ended up going to Vršovice. It's up there on Evropská, and we're paying 30,000 for renting a half of a family house with a garden. A decent bargain, if you ask me. Smíchov is one of Prague's biggest question marks. The biggest downside is around Anděl or Plzeňská, where there is a lot of homelessness or drug-related issues, and they're still relatively visible. Hopefully the new development projects will gradually change that. Buyers are looking currently at prices around 162,000 per square meter, and your 2KK will cost 10 to 11 million Czech crowns. If Žižkov is Vinohrady's rebellious brother, then Vršovice is the quieter one. Similar atmosphere, a little more relaxed and more affordable in general. Buyers are paying around 153,000 Czech crowns per square meter, and typical 2KK will cost between 7 to 9 million Czech crowns. We didn't talk about other less-known districts, such as Radotín, Spořilov or Podolí. Well, I'm sure you know them, but we didn't have time to check all of them today, which is for the next videos. My name is Robin. I help foreigners to understand, buy or sell properties in the Czech Republic. And if you want to know more, of course, feel free to Google us, check the links down there in the description, and see you in the next video.